I'm Nadira Jamal, the belly dance geek, and I've just finished my morning practice, so I'm here with no makeup, sweaty hair. I haven't even brushed my teeth yet, but I wanted to give you a little bit of a peek into my home studio. One common thing that comes up when I ask folks about what keeps them from practicing is they say, I don't have anywhere to do it. And what they really mean is I don't have the perfect place to do it. So to dispel that myth, I want to show you my perfectly imperfect little studio. Now, I am very lucky to have a dedicated space, especially here in Boston where the housing market is crazy. Having a second bedroom is kind of a luxury for a couple without kids. So I am lucky to have a space at all. But as you can see, it's really not anything that we'd consider a real dance studio or a perfect practice space. So I'll just give you a little tour. This room is about 12 by 14, which for the Boston area is a pretty good sized bedroom. In a more modern house, this would not be at all considered a good size. And the usable space that I have is really about 8 by 10. Let's start off on the back wall here. So this is nicely mirrored. We bought these mirrors from Home Depot, and they're just bathroom mirrors. These were meant to be mounted horizontally over a vanity or a double vanity, and we just mounted them vertically. The whole thing cost us maybe $75, and it was easy to mount, but it was a little bit tricky to get back from the store. Now, over here in the corner, I have a folding screen. The reason for this is that it's very easy to get reliant on the mirrors. As I really started ramping up my practice last year, that's something that I really struggled with. You'll notice that I have an item hanging from the mirror here. These are my instructor badges from the MECTA Professional Dance Conference and Retreat from 2011. As you can see, I was one of the instructors. And so I have the large instructor badge. And then I also have these small badges that were given out after you completed a class, kind of like merit badges in the Girl Scouts. Now, I like to keep this on my mirror because that was really the first experience I had of really putting myself out there on a national scale as an expert. I had done podcasts and made some resources, but this was really the first time I stepped out there teaching a workshop to other professionals. And so that was a really big deal for me career-wise, but it was also the first time that I really felt like I belonged on that tier. And so I keep that on my mirror to give me that extra little bit of motivation. It says, I'm a professional. It helps me feel like a professional. And when I feel like that, I do my best work when I'm here to practice. Next to the TV and to the left of the mirrors, I have my little media stand. So I have an iPod dock that charges my iPod and plays music, my notebook that I take notes on my practice, and an older computer that I use to store my music library so I can play it right here in the studio. I also have a little box with some Turkish spoons, some zills, and also I have a set of these brass Thai dance fingers. Now, I'm not really into fusion myself, so I don't dance with these, but I find them to be a really handy teaching tool. The reason for that is they really extend the length of the fingers and they add some weight. So when I have private students who tend to curl their hands or really splay their fingers out, the extra length and weight really makes it visible. So it helps them think about lengthening their fingers and keeping them together. I also have my costume closet, which is too full to open at this point. I need to do a little bit of a clean out there. And also my mats. Over here I have my storage shelf, which also looks messy. I have a trophy from a competition I placed in when I was a newbie professional and a shamadan. I have my language resources. This is not actually my full collection. I've been working on Turkish as well, but all of my resources are electronic, so those don't go up on the shelf. I have some of my dance books and a whole lot of dance notebooks. And this is also where I place my water during my practice time. And I also keep a little box here with some earplugs. Now, the earplugs are important because I practice zills most days, and I have big, loud Zildjian zills, and this is not a very big space, so they really ring and echo. Now, on the next three shelves, I have my chaos space. I'm one of those people who gets kind of cranky if you tell me what to do. So one thing that I do is I allow myself to put whatever I want on these shelves however I want. So it can be as messy as I need it to be. The only rule is that when it fills up, I have to clean it out. And this really comes in handy because it keeps the chaos restricted to this space. So you can see that the rest of my dance studio has nice clean floor space. And I can come up here first thing in the morning to practice, and I don't have to clean anything up before I can get started. And then in the back of the room, you can see I have a small couch. Now this does take up some space in the room, but I use the couch when I have private students coming over. I find that we have a more productive lesson if we sit down for a minute or two and really talk about what their goals are and what they'd like to accomplish. We used to do this standing up or sitting on the floor, but there's something about sitting down in a comfortable chair with a glass of water or maybe some tea and having a real conversation that gets people to think beyond just their most immediate goals or what feels pressing at the moment. This is also where I'm sitting during all of my clubhouse calls in the Belly Dance Geek Clubhouse. And it's also where I make a lot of the materials for my other coaching programs. So if I'm recording audio or making worksheets, a lot of the time I'm sitting right here. And then my foam roller collection. I have had quite a few injuries in the last 7 years, and some of them were dance and some of them were not. But I find that really staying on top of self-care helps keep them from recurring. Now you'll notice I have this big blank white wall. I originally planned to decorate this room with some kind of fancy theme, maybe with a lot of Moroccan decor, but I realized, since I was too lazy to do it for a long time, I really got used to this nice blank, empty white space. It really felt like coming up to a fresh canvas every day. I find that this more bare bones feeling really says to me, it's time to work. Let's get to work. Whereas somebody else may find that a more opulent themed environment says, I'm a belly dancer. Let's dance, right? So this is really a personal thing, and you should go with what works for you. What I do have planned for this white wall, though, is I'd like to make it my wall of fame. I've been collecting photographs of some of my coaching clients and students who have moved on, and also my video grandbabies. These are DVDs that were made by folks who took my Make Your First Belly Dance video course, and a lot of them sent me signed copies of their DVD. And I want to mount those all on this wall. The reason for that is that I find that when I'm not feeling motivated, it really helps to remember that I'm connected to so many people, and that helps me want to show up and be my best so that I can provide better resources for them. Now the last thing that I want to show you is this spot here on the floor. Now you'll notice that the finish has worn off, and it's worn off right in front of the mirror. The reason for that is that I do most of my practice in just about this spot. And so I've literally worn the finish off the floor just with the sweat from my feet. Now, this is unfortunate because it means I'm going to have to refinish my floor, but I also see it as a little bit of a badge of honor. I practiced so hard I wore out my floor. And so that's also something that gives me a nice motivation when I show up. I hope you've enjoyed this little peek into my studio. And what I'd really like you to take away from this is that even if you don't have a room of your own to practice in, you can find just a little bit of space wherever you are to practice. It doesn't have to be a dedicated space. You can have just an alcove in your living room. You can push your dining room table over to the wall when it's time to practice. And I even started my practice habit in my kitchen. I was doing so little and it was so hard to get started that I decided instead of coming up here, I would just practice in the kitchen while my breakfast was cooking. Just go ahead and do it. You don't have to wait for the perfect space. And if you'd like to build your own practice habit, you can join me for How to Build a Sustainable Practice Habit, my online course, which is starting on January 19th. You can get the details at bellydancegeek.com/practice-habit. And until next time, happy dancing.